restricted it to our place of work. So if you look around, typically all HR processes evaluate your IQ, your EQ, your AQ, but somehow spirituality is given the miss. Perhaps it's considered something that has to be developed outside the scope of corporate world, of the corporate world. But that's what made me think that this would be a good idea to explore how we can use this at a very practical level and ensure that we get the best results. So we were discussing spirituality, we were discussing SQ or spiritual quotient, and the different responses that came out were the ability to relax and to release stress, the compassion for others, understanding others, which is all correct because here it's really what you think spirituality is and how you look at life. Yeah. So that's what we had discussed, and then I was at the point where we were discussing this writer on mental health called Dennis Howell, who talks of three important aspects as far as spirituality is concerned. So we discussed responsibility, which meant essentially understanding your responsibility, your role in life, your purpose in life, your vision in life, okay, which helps you to better yourself on the path of spirituality. The second thing he spoke of is humility. Now, when we talk of humility, we are talking of the vastness of the world and what we are compared to the vastness of the universe, of the world, of whatever you want to call it. So, from that perspective, we are these little tiny specks existing on Earth. But having said that, I firmly believe that we have a huge universe within ourselves which is waiting to be discovered, which is waiting to be explored. And that is what we are interested in. So, responsibility, humility, and last but not the least, happiness. To which somebody said it comes from within, which is so true. So, there are days when you just get up and you're just happy. Do you know why? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then somebody talked about the luxury of life, and somebody said, enjoying material.
I said happiness is I said happiness itself is a luxury.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then I couldn't hear you too well. I couldn't hear you too well.
Sometimes you have to make an effort to afford it. Sometimes it comes on your own.
True, true. Yeah. So essentially, what we are talking of is that all of this is inside you, and that is why I say that there is that universe which is waiting to be explored. So some of us are on the path, some of us still need to start, some of us have probably reached certain heights. But the point is that it's a journey. It is not a destination, it is a journey. And there will be ups and downs in this journey. And that is what we have to learn to accept, we have to learn to enjoy, and really increase our SQ if we want to, really increase our spiritual quotient if that is what we are looking at. Yeah. So I would want to illustrate this by a couple of real life situations which I have experienced. So before I get into that, anybody wants to say anything? Otherwise, I'll move on to discuss a couple of situations.
I feel when we are working, we form an opinion. Sometimes in the work we have tiff and we form opinion. So for me, opinion is the lowest form of human knowledge.
Opinion is the lowest form of
human knowledge.
Okay. Okay. So we will take this, what you're saying. Yeah. Sorry. Somebody saying something?
No. It's just you need to see beyond, and you can only see beyond when you're spiritual.
Okay. Point taken. And you have, there's merit in what you say. So let me just describe the situation to you. Give me a few minutes because it'll take a while to just get the perspective. So this was a couple of years ago where I was doing a workshop on leadership. Okay, this was for a pharma company, and the participants were all HODs with their subordinates. Okay, so there was this gentleman with the secretary and this gentleman with one of his subordinates. Okay, so let's take these two things which really stood out in my mind. I mean, even today, I take that as an illustration to make a point. Because I think most of us would have gone through these situations, whether we are 1 year old in the work industry or we are 30 years old, we would have all gone through these kind of situations. So let me just tell you what happened. So they were given this assignment to figure out how they work as a team and what are the ups and the downs that they face and things like that. So for the sake of convenience, I'll call the first team Team A and the second team Team B. So after some 15-20 minutes of discussion, Team A, the HOD says, oh, we have this wonderful work relationship and we do very well. And he was gung-ho. I mean, if you heard him out, you would say, wow, what a team to work in. But I could see the lady, his secretary, not saying anything. So once he was through, I prodded her. I said, what is it that you want to say or what is your take on it? So she kept quiet, she was almost hesitating, and then she says that, no, not really, because there are times when I am quite perturbed. And he said, perturbed, why? So he says, no, you are asking me to do things which I don't have answers for. You are, there is so much of work suddenly thrust upon me. I have to work long hours without prior notice. And basically, her take was very, very different from his. And his face lost color. He was completely devastated. I mean, it was as if, his whole world came collapsing down. He kept quiet for some time and then he said, but why did you not say this earlier? She says, I didn't think you'd hear, you wouldn't listen to me, and that's the reason I didn't say anything. And her face, I was watching both of them, she just said it. She had no fear, she had a bit of hesitation, but she just said it. Now, team two started talking, and this person, the head of HOD, just said that, yeah, there's no issue, we are perfectly fine, and there's absolutely no problem. So his subordinate says, no, but whatever, he had his list. So this person tells him, no, that's all nonsense. These are his words, not mine. And it's not that way, and this is, what you're saying is not true. Now imagine among some 20 odd people, he tells a subordinate that, no, this doesn't work and what you say is completely false. So we let it be, and of course the session continued. But to bring it here now, who do you think or which team do you think would have worked better as a team? And this is what we will explore as to which team and why, where our learning lies. So team A or team B? Chances are we'll all agree with team A. Yeah. Now, why? What do you think was happening in team A that would make us believe that this is the team which would work better?
Because he was ready to listen, and he appreciates the fact that his junior spoke about it and came to him. Though she did not go to him, but still she has spoken about it. So I think that is where it is making a change, and he has appreciated that fact and accepted it.
Very good. Excellent. So listening and accepting, okay. But before that, where does that come from? Is what I would like to talk about. Where does listening and accepting come from? When do you do that? You do that when you do care for yourself and you do care for the other person. And you care for your environment. Okay? So when I think of you and I think of the environment and I think of myself, I'm not going to leave myself out. That's when a workable solution which is good for all of us comes out. And if every person works this way in this world or in this universe, that's spirituality for us. That we are happy, the person we work with is happy, the organization is happy, the industry is happy. So it's the path that we take, it's the approach. So modern management may call this being in a win-win situation, perhaps. Yeah, for all the HR people here. But the point is that if this is your approach, you will automatically be in a win-win situation rather than working it the other way around. So I thought that was one very important learning for me, and I'm sharing that with you, that both these people in Team A, after initial hesitation and initial shock that the HOD went through, I thought they really genuinely cared for each other's role. They genuinely saw each other's perspective. They tried to understand, because one could observe that that's what's happening. and also to understand why a person is doing this. So there may be times when we do something which is not in line with what you want to do or would have wanted to do. What is our immediate reaction? Typically, more often than not, we will grumble, we will crib. What I am trying to say here is if I can for a moment say, okay, so this is the reason he tells me things at 6 p.m. when I'm about to leave. This is the reason because he gets his instructions by 5:30. So not that that's going to change anything, but it makes my life easier because I am able to understand why that's happening to me. You get my point? That once I understand why a thing is even going wrong, I am more at peace and my life is easier. So that was the second thing that I saw, that they were able to see each other's point of view. May agree, may not agree, that is the next step. But more often than not, we are not willing to even listen to the other person and say, okay, this is the reason why this is happening. What we call empathy in management language, what we call empathy. But again, if you observe around you, if you look at people who are successful and spiritual, empathy comes to them automatically. But the good news is that we can work on these areas also. It is not that you're born with it, you can always develop these skills. So that was the second thing that I observed, that a lot of empathy goes a long way in resolving issues in your life and making your life easier. Third, as this lady was saying about seeing the larger picture, the bigger picture. So these two people did realize that if we work well together, our team works well together, the company works well together, and it benefits everybody. Sometimes we have to forsake small gains, immediate gains, profits for larger benefit. And that's why we need to understand the larger picture. Yeah. For example, if we just see what happened right now, so Shubhra requested us if we could log in again. Now, for some of us, it may have been an imposition. Maybe you have another session at 5 or whatever. Yeah. So, but it did, not that it ruffled any feathers, but the point is, if we all agreed for the larger good, that tomorrow when we want to listen to this or take anything away from this, we will have a recording. So, if you have that perspective in life, chances are resolution of issues is easier. May or may not happen, but it is easier. And the fourth thing that I learned here from this particular situation that I witnessed was the ability of this person in team A to be non-judgmental. As in team B, he was completely condescending and saying, no, you're not good enough. Now that is an excellent quality that we must work on, because again, it gives you a very unbiased perspective. And being judgmental comes so easy to the human being, no? All of us. So there are times we say, oh, these Americans, oh, these maids don't do this. So we in one statement have generalized about an entire set of people without realizing at all. Yeah. So I think these were the four learnings that I felt needed to be talked of. And do tell me, as I've discussed with you, the situation, if there's anything else that you would like to contribute before we move on to the next one. So somebody, Prashanti, has written here, opinion is really the lowest form of human knowledge. It requires no accountability, no understanding. The highest form of knowledge is empathy, for it requires us to suspend our egos and live in another's world. It requires profound purpose larger than the self kind of understanding. Yeah? So any comments before we move on? Yeah, anything anyone wants to say before we move on?
I think we're good.
Okay, all right. So this is what I would suggest, that do have a look at these. I'll put the PPT a little later, and then let us see what else we can add to this. Okay. Now let us look at the next situation, which was my own experience. This was I had joined a company, and I was heading operations in Pune, and I was taken for certain qualities and certain business acumen, which was supposed to turn around the company over there in terms of profits, in terms of business and profits. So once I went there, I realized that things were not as they were supposed to be. So I had some about 40, 45 people reporting to me, and uh, none of them would cooperate. So I wondered why. Because I was a person, I was a new person, I wasn't somebody who had been there, so there was no reason for them to have any kind of animosity towards me, but never mind. So then I started speaking to all of them individually, starting from the top. So two people who were supposed to report to me. So there was this lady and this gentleman, and I spoke to them at length, and they wouldn't say anything. Now it becomes very difficult to talk to people who are not going to talk to you, especially when you need to perform, when you want to perform, and you want to do a good job. So I figured out that the lady in question was somebody who wanted to be in my position. Fair enough. And this gentleman had an issue with a female boss. I mean, that's what I figured out. And I asked them as politely as I could. So then I suggested to them that fair enough, you want to go ahead, good idea. So let's all work together and we all move up. So if I move up, you move up. If you move up, he moves up. But somehow that didn't appeal to them. What was even more difficult for me to deal with was that the very person who had recruited me for the qualities that I was recruited suddenly started finding them all wrong and started deriding me and saying, you're not getting it right. But I said that we are doing the right things. We are making profits from a complete loss-making enterprise. We've become a profit-making place or center in about 3 to 6 months. And my recommendation is that you reduce the number of people. So I was told, so you want to throw people out? I said, no, you transfer them. Because 10 people are doing the work of 2 or 3 people. We don't need so many people. So anyway, that's the way it went on. And after 6 months, I realized that the results that I was getting were very good, but I knew that I had made a wrong choice. I would have to leave in 1 year because the culture fit, I had got the culture fit completely wrong. Okay, so I realized that, but I still worked for that year. I completed that year. I ensured that when we handed over, we were in a good space, all profits and bottom lines, healthy bottom lines. So that was good. But I realized that I would not last here, not because there was anything wrong with me or with the company, but there was a culture mismatch. Okay, so here again, I realized there was a big learning. The learning for me, actually in hindsight, and I'm happy I did the things I did, but in hindsight was the ability to accept your reality. So, yes, I'm not getting along. I need to do something, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at the cost of my performance. No. But this is my reality, and I'm not going to live in denial saying that everything is fine, because everything is not fine. Okay? I'm happy with the fact that I tried everything I could. I spoke to people, I did take advice and guidance that am I getting it wrong? Or, I mean, is there something wrong with the situation itself? But sometimes the situation can be beyond your control and there's nothing much you can do. So then I decided that no, I need to change my reality. But when can you change your reality? Only when you accept it. Some of us live in denial. It's comfortable. It's easy to be in denial. So we say, okay, or I blame the world for it. So my boss wasn't good, my subordinates were not good, the place wasn't nice, the city was, so I could do all that. But the point is that when I blame you, or I blame somebody else, I'm handing over the controls. The moment I take charge of my life and I say, okay, it was a mistake I made, I can change my reality. because it's in my hands. So that was a big learning for me to accept my reality. The second thing that I learned was the ability to let go. Not easy, especially when you work so hard to turn around a thing, you tried hard to develop a good team, you are trying to work at people, you're trying to work with relationships. It's very difficult to let go. I'm sure most of you will agree. But, and that also comes with another aspect of resilience. Where does your resilience end and where do you let go? I think that is a point which we all need to understand. So I could have gone on probably for another year. I don't know what benefit it would have given me. Would I be able to turn them around? I don't know. But I strongly feel no. Yeah? So letting go after you've tried everything was a huge learning for me, and which I practice till today. That there are times when you have to check and say, okay, this doesn't work for me, let go. And that is very difficult even with people. You know, so you may have a friend or you may have a partner, you may have whoever, but things are just not working for you and you've tried everything in the book. So is it time to let go? You are the best judge. And what happens is you will know it from inside. You can take all the guidance, you can take all the help that you need, but you know from within that inside voice, that little voice, you know, which will tell you that this is it. And as I always say, if it means leaving people or if it means, leaving your team or partners and spouses, of course, are a little more difficult. But I think finite hurt that will come from taking such a decision is much better than infinite pain, which can go lifelong. That's my mantra, but of course, I would let you decide how you want to take that further. The third thing that I realized was life is about making choices. Okay? And that's again where spirituality comes in, that when you choose for things like money, there's nothing wrong with money. But if I choose for money, then I get money. And when I don't get money, I leave. But the point is that there is much more in life apart from just money. Yeah? I'm just giving an example. So making choices are your responsibility. So I say, okay, next 5 years, I'm going to really work and make a lot of money and then I'll relax. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay? But the point is, I decide. So if I'm going to run after materialistic things, that is fine. And as I say, there's nothing wrong in it. But it's the process that you adopt to achieve these things that is going to make you either spiritual or low in esteem. Again, as I say, nothing right or wrong, good or bad. It's your choice. It is your choice. It's the process that will define the end. So making choices again can be difficult if you do not know your purpose in life. If you do not know why. Remember we spoke of those three things earlier? If you don't know why you're doing this, it can be difficult. If you don't know which way you want to go, it can be difficult. Having said that, I also believe that these are experiences which make life worth living. You can make mistakes. It's okay. We all make mistakes and we all learn from them. I mean, it's as simple as that. As somebody said, I read this somewhere in one of these forwards, that failure is not a bruise. Failure is not a tattoo, it's just a bruise. Very nicely said. So we can't fear failure and stop doing stuff. Action has to be there. Action has to be there. You can also decide what is it that you want, what is the end goal that you want. Yeah. But the point is, spirituality comes in the way you approach. In the way you approach. As I was sharing with you, Professor Kurian Worki, who said, that's when we had stopped the last time. So he had a very interesting thing to tell us. He says that if you're marooned on an island with the most expensive Mercedes Benz, will you enjoy it? So we were all in second year, so we didn't dare to laugh. But the point that he was making was so relevant and so pertinent. So the other aspect that came to our mind, and through these situations also, is the ability to give and take. So whether it is giving and taking money, or whether it is giving and taking feedback, or whether it's giving and taking joy, happiness, whatever it is, that's what adds a lot of value to life, a lot of value. So, uh, and also one more thing about choices is taking it as your responsibility. I have observed so many people, the moment something goes wrong, they say, you know, you told me to do this, or so and so told me to do this, or third person has suggested. Now that's the beginning of the downward spiral. You can make a mistake, it's okay. These are learning events. It's not the end of the journey, they're just learning events. Yes, you make the same mistake twice and thrice, then you need to probably introspect and see why you're doing that. But mistakes, I mean, I don't know a single person who doesn't make mistakes in life. So that was the third learning about making choices, making mistakes, but taking it as your responsibility. And the fourth thing that came to my mind, which I learned then, and I use it till today, and I recommend it to anybody who's wanting to learn that, is the ability to distance yourself from the situation. Now, what do I mean by that? When I talk of distancing, I did this. I said, okay, so this is the problem that I have. Supposing someone came with this issue to me. Okay, so let's say I'm the mentor, I'm the coach, and someone comes to me with this situation. How would I deal with this? So what I do is I keep the situation away from me and I say, okay, this seems the most obvious thing that a person should do. Then what is stopping me from doing that? So this helps. This helps as a technique. And what is stopping me? Many a time could be fear, could be a feeling of lack, could be a feeling of hesitation, could be ego. There are so many reasons why we don't do things, so many, and we know them. Intuitively, we know why we don't do those things. And very honestly, we don't have to answer anybody else except ourselves. And that is where I believe introspection helps a lot. Introspection helps a lot. When I sit and I think, in fact, in plenty of my training programs, I ask them this question, and I will ask you the same question. Like, when was the last time when you really sat down by yourself, half an hour, 1 hour, cell phones off, doorbells off, family off, but this is my time and this is what I want to do, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, what should I do? Introspect, explore, be with yourself, what we call me time. So that is a thing that you need to think about, that am I giving myself enough time? As a friend of mine very fondly had said at the age of 20 that I can make another person happy only when I am happy. How true? How true is that? How can I make you happy if I am not? So here I would say a lot of introspection, a lot of me thought, a lot of me time is something that would help us to increase our SQ or spiritual quotient. And the fact that we are all here shows that we are all interested in moving ahead. And irrespective of what level we are at, irrespective of what vibrational level we are at, we are all interested in moving ahead. And these are some of the things that I think would help. Another thing that I would like to bring to your notice, before I go ahead, anything anybody wants to say? I haven't been looking at your chat. Anyone?
Yeah, I think everybody kind of agreed to what you were saying, and so did I.
Okay.
I had a question
Okay.
though. In the best interest of time, I would like to take it later, but I do not want to break the flow. But I've made a note
Okay.
of the question.
Sure, sure. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to say is talk about is something known as detachment. Okay. Now, what do I mean by detachment? So when I talk of detachment, I am talking of not having an attachment to the result of an activity that I take on. Okay. So if I am extremely successful in that activity, I don't go over the top and it doesn't go to my head. And if I fail, I don't go into depression. So when I talk of detachment, that is what I again learned, that when you keep yourself at a distance or detach, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do that work. Of course you're going to do it. Of course we live in a material world, and of course we must enjoy material things. But the moment the material obsession becomes, it takes over your mental and physical being, that's when the problem starts. That's when the problem starts. And that is what I mean by detachment, that if you can keep yourself detached, you can actually enjoy the material world that we are born in. That we are born in. So, detachment is one more thing that I thought was extremely important in the spiritual journey of ours. Another thing that I feel impacts this detachment is emotions. Some of us tend to be highly emotional, highly emotional. Our responses are highly emotional. So somebody said something, I burst into tears. Somebody didn't say something, I burst into tears. So not to say that's wrong or bad, no, that's not what I mean. But the point is, when again, when emotions take over, there's an imbalance. There is an imbalance. So what I would say is, if you are the emotional source, do not respond when you are emoting. When you're emoting, don't respond. Hang on. Let finish crying, finish sobbing, finish complaining, grumbling, whatever, and then take a stance, and then have a look, distance yourself, look at the situation, and then decide what you want. Now, please understand that all that I am saying, I have tried and tested myself. Okay, each and everything that I have mentioned over the last 2.5 decades, I have practiced, tried, tested myself, and then I am sharing with you. Yeah. So emotions again are good, obviously, but they can come in the way of spirituality, as I just explained. As I just explained. So whenever you feel that you're going to completely break down, just back off. It works. It really works to back off, to have a good cry, and then come back and say, "All right, now let me see what I need to do."
So,
So, yeah, sorry.
sorry, this is Shubhra. I have a question here. So I mean, is that in a way an inference that being emotional is bad for spirituality?
No, that's what I said. No, emotions are not bad, but they do impact your decisions. Okay, let me think of an example. Uh, if I go back to that situation one, okay, the team A, right? Now that gentleman, team B, he got so angry. Now, because he got angry, he just hurled short of abusive language at his subordinate. It was uncalled for. It was uncalled for. But he did. So emotions are not bad. They are there. We are emotional beings. Like we are spiritual beings, we are emotional beings. So that's not bad. What happens is that when you are hyper and emotional, my suggestion is back off. Do not respond immediately. Take time to think and then respond.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the way I would look at emotions. All right. Uh, all right. Now, another aspect in life, I would say, is keeping the balance in life. Now, what do we mean by the balance in life? When I talk of balance, I am talking of the spiritual as well as the material world. Okay, we live in a material world. I definitely enjoy a nice house, a beautiful car, a lovely garden, uh, holidays, vacations. We all enjoy that. Why not? Okay, and as you move up in life, you may perhaps be able to afford more and more and more, which is very good. Okay, but when it takes over your entire life, that is the only thing you want to do, that is when trouble starts, if you have noticed. And sometimes it's not so much about material, it's about power. Okay, so otherwise, why would it happen that the biggest businessmen get into scams of thousands and thousands of crores? They're not short on money. So why do we have these scams? Or why do celebrities dodge duties on cars and vehicles? Why? I'm sure they afford, if you afford to buy a car of that value, I'm sure you can pay the duty on that car. But why do you do that? So that is where the lack of spirituality or a lower SQ comes. That is why, and that's what I mean by balance. So you have your ambition, you have your aspirations, everything is fine because as I repeatedly say, we live in a material world and we want to enjoy this, definitely. But don't let it take over your entire being. Because that's what happens when people are in scams. That's what happens when people go to jail. That is the reason. You can't allow that to take over your entire life. Yeah. So, and this can also happen. Interestingly, this is another thing I've observed quite often. I can even give you real examples. Is a feeling of lack. You know, a feeling of lack has nothing to do with actual poverty. Okay, I know of people who will not tip a waiter in the restaurant. So you spend X amount on food, but you think it's a waste to tip a guy who served you. Now, to me, that looks that you're coming from a place of lack. You feel that if I give this guy 50 rupees, 100 rupees, or 200 or 20 bucks, it's going to reduce my uh, stock of money or stock of whatever it is. Why does that happen? So I have observed that quite a few people suffer from that feeling of lack. That somebody will run away with my money, somebody will run away with my content, somebody will run away with what I have. So I remember somebody asking me, can you give me content? I said, take it. Take it. But you cannot take my experience, right? And the same way I cannot take what is yours. So go ahead, take my content. So I think that point also has to be noted that, and see, we can all have it. It's not about being, I have a lot of fears. I work very hard on fears. I mean, anybody who suffers from phobias will understand what I'm saying. I have worked very hard on getting rid of 3 big fears in my life. Of flying, I used to be petrified. I used to be petrified sitting in a plane. So I've done a lot of work in that area. I've almost gotten rid of the fear of water. So I can tolerate water now. And third, of driving. These are very big fears. For anybody who has these will understand what I'm saying. So we all come with our respective fears, or call them lack or whatever, but we need to work on them. And you will work only when you are ready to work. What can help is probably listening. So I heard somebody and I said, okay, this is something I'd like to work on. But I cannot force anyone. In the sense, one cannot force anybody to start. So only when your time is right, you will automatically seek guidance or seek people who can help you. Yeah. So these are the things that I thought I would share with you. I'll quickly run through the PPT with you just to take you through, and then we can take your questions. Yeah. Shubhra, please help me with this. Can you see this?
Yeah, I haven't yet. You need to share it. Can you please present now?
Present now. Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, yes.
Full screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so we spoke of responsibility, we spoke of humility, we spoke of happiness. If anybody wants to comment, please feel free to say, others I'll move on. Yeah, so we spoke of these 3 aspects. I love this one, so I just put it up. Be so happy that when others look at you, they become happy too. So these were the learnings that I had, which I shared with you, and I'm just sharing so that you can have a look. And if you wish to take down, you're welcome to. Please read this. Can't see them. As I look back on my life, yeah, shall I read it or I'll read it out? As I look back on my life, I realized that every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, I was actually being redirected to something better. If you remember, I mentioned this that sometimes we need to let go or forego those small joys or gains, but we are not able to see why. But more often than not, you realize it's really just for your own better.
Yeah, I
That there's
really like
something,
it. I'm going to take a picture of this.
yeah,
This
that
is
there's
very
something
nice.
better waiting for you, but we are so sure that it's not going to happen. We're so sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 second. So I spoke of this, accepting your reality. Ego, again, I think is the biggest barrier which most of us would find difficult to let go. But let me assure you, it's worth every effort. With personal experience, I tell you, I think you feel so light when you can let go. You feel so good. It's an amazing experience. You must work on it. Making choices, my responsibility. Take charge of your life, take charge of your choices, and you see how much in control you feel. And this again is a very handy tool of distancing yourself, or being able to detach yourself. It works wonders for your emotions. It works wonders on your mental state. Very positive impact. Be like a tree, stay grounded, connect with your roots, turn over a new leaf, bend before you break, enjoy your natural beauty, keep growing. Okay, so before I hand over this to you, this is something I thought I must share with you. How do I start? So there could be questions in our minds that, okay, I'd like to do this, and what do I do? So maybe what you can do is you first identify the area that you would like to work in. Yeah. Once you've identified that, figure out how you're going to do that, as in the action points. Okay. Be mindful, be aware, be conscious that every time you are in that situation, and what is the action that you're taking. It doesn't matter whether you meet with success the first time or not. It doesn't matter. The important part is to be aware that you're doing this. So, for example, if I want to get over my fear of talking to people, for example, so each time that I approach the person, the first time, I am going to feel a very high sense of fear, but that's okay. You anyway move ahead, but be conscious that you're feeling and you're trying to correct it. You're trying to change it. So every subsequent time that you do, you will find your fear reducing. And I can guarantee you that. You just have to get down to doing it. I always recommend taking help of people whom you trust, who are your well wishers. That really helps a lot. I'm very blessed to have people who actually can guide me in my life. So I always recommend that very strongly. And keep at it till you can, till that becomes a part of you. Just keep at it. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah. So just keep at it. I assure you, you will enjoy the entire journey of change. And when you see the final result, it's a beautiful feeling. It is a beautiful feeling that you have actually managed to go from point A to point B, irrespective of the time it takes. And you are this different person whom you wanted to be. So you must give it a shot. And I would always be open for discussion. I'll take your questions. 1 second. So this is what I had to say. Please feel free to write to me, message me. I would be very happy to respond and take this ahead. And now I hand over to all of you. Whatever questions you have, please shoot them off and we can answer them. Yes, please.
Thank you so much. I think this obviously is a very nice topic to go through, and you shared a couple of your life experiences so well. I can completely relate to everything. I also very much related to the negative energy that we have. There are certain people who just ooze out of negativity, and
Absolutely.
the moment they come around you, you get to feel it. So when I read that line in your presentation, distance yourself, that immediately came to my mind that yes, I know that there are certain people who I do not want to really interact with, and I have tried my level best in trying to understand, is it my problem, or is it a problem that I can
True.
overcome? Is it coming from the outer world, or is it the inner part within me? And I realized that it is coming from the outer world. I've tried my level best to adjust. So I could really relate to that line that you had put out there. Distance yourself immediately for the pure fact that it gives you happiness. At the end of it, what matters is your own, life health and your own life. And your mind's happiness above all. So thank you again so much on that front.
In fact, you made a very pertinent point that happiness. So sometimes people are, ridden with guilt that, oh, I said this to so and so and I'm not talking. But it's okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I,
Everything
I
doesn't
learned it
work for
very
everyone.
late.
Yeah.
I learned
Yeah,
it
that's
very
okay.
late, Nirupama, just
Never
because,
too late.
we are in the field. I mean, at least three of us here I know are from hospitality, and right from the day one in our hotel, school, college, we are taught about empathy and pleasing people. So in this
True.
process of pleasing people, right, I think we outstretch ourselves so far that we completely forget our own being.
Correct.
And
Correct.
yes, it is important to, give and respect yourself first, your happiness first.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
that learning came a little later in life, and yeah, yeah. Thanks again for this. I have a question, but I'll first wait for everyone else
Sure.
to pose theirs.
Can I
Sure.
ask a question?
Yeah, Nirupama,
Yes.
this was so wonderful. A recap of a lot of things we should be doing. I
Right.
was wondering, what is it that you would want to cover in a session that's called Spirituality at Work? And after attending this, I think this is so very important for each one of us to, take a restock of our lives. And a lot of things we did go through during the lockdown because it did give us a lot of time. In fact, time was thrown at us, and would agree so much with Shubhra that being from the hospitality, there are certain things taught to us. In fact, forget being from the hospitality, being a woman, there are so many
Yes.
things taught to us. The moment you are born, you are a woman, and this is what is expected out of you. And especially in Indian households, I think it's all part of our DNA, and somewhere it takes efforts on our part to put these learning into practices. And it is somewhere, it gets late for most of us. And all the younger people who are joining us today, please take this as something important lessons in life, which probably you will get in another 10-15 years. So what you're getting today, what we say, usko gaant bandh ke rakhna hai.
हाँ,
That is what
बिल्कुल.
all of you should do, and follow, because I also learned them pretty late, is what I would say. And Nirupama, excellent and great
Ah,
perspective.
thank you.
I'd been writing, some of the thoughts that you had, that they're so amazing, and I would
Ah,
certainly
thank
look
you.
forward to more of your sessions.
I
Thank you.
would love that too. I would
Thank you.
love that.
Yes, questions, any knowledge sharing, any experience sharing, please come up. Would love to hear.
Can I say Can I ask something? a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You
please.
go ahead. Go ahead. Neetu, thank you so much for inviting me. I think this was great. It's kind of a few things that I'm already practicing because of the job that I do. But I just wanted to point out a couple more, add more to what you said. I think between corporate and employees and bosses and stuff, and even at home in relationships, expressing and communicating is so important. Everything just begins with that instead of having everything in your brain. I got to do this, I got to do that, da, 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 and then it comes out as a real bad emotion. But if you express and communicate what is going on with your significant other or whoever is with you at work or personally, I think that's where it begins. So start communicating and let the dialogue go on between you and they might express, they might acknowledge. And then the other thing I said is acknowledgement. If you're having a difficult situation with the person across you, just acknowledging where you are and what you are about, and then and I think I always take a moment
So
and
I
be in
can't
the
hear
other
it too well.
person's shoes. I just be in the other person's shoes for a minute and I say, well, where is that person coming from? And then I try to respond.
Anju, I couldn't
Um,
hear you too well,
Oh, okay.
but I heard the communication part. I couldn't hear the
Okay.
rest.
okay, I think there's somebody. Diksha has a doubt. Uh,
Yeah,
she says, I have one doubt. When we say that we need to accept our reality, does that not make us more inclined to not changing? Oh, very well, Diksha. This was exactly my question.
yeah. Does that
Does
not
that not make us more inclined to not changing
change?
ourselves and not trying more hard to change the reality? What if it becomes
No,
a habit?
that's exactly what I said. Okay, so what I said was this, that I am in a very bad, I made a bad career move. Okay, so now I accept my reality that yes, I made, if I don't accept my reality, I am never going to change my reality. So I need to accept that yes, I made a bad career move. That's not the end of the world. Let me see how I can change this. So, does that not make us more inclined to not? No, you will change yourself. On the contrary, I will change myself. So, if I say that I had this thing with the boss and it's just not working out and I need to take a transfer to another department, if I've given it my best shot, then I'm accepting my reality that I have used all my strengths to ensure that I make this work, but it's not working out. So, does that answer your question, Diksha?
Yeah, yeah, even mine, even mine.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what you're saying is that yes, give it the best shot. You know, try and understand where
absolutely.
is the problem, what is the
Absolutely.
actual problem that lies, and then yes, take a call.
Correct. Correct. Some of us live in denial. You know, it's like a bad marriage. So you say, okay, no, no, this is very good for me. No, I remember I have to share this with, especially because all ladies here. So I was evening on this evening scholarship, and we had the NHS director, a lady, who addressed the 12 of us. And you know, we were shocked. She says that
Is there
it
anything
has.
I'm missing? I'm not able to hear them.
Sorry.
Please log in from your
Is Neeru not
laptop.
talking?
Please log in from your
Uh,
laptop. Okay.
Yeah. Uh,
Hi,
sorry.
Charu.
Hi.
So this lady, can you hear me,
Hi,
all of
Charu.
you?
we can, we can.
Okay. So all these, so this lady told
Is
us that
Neeru?
it took me 10 years to walk out of a bad marriage
Yeah.
because I blamed myself for it. Because I thought I was the person who was not, doing the right thing. So that's what I'm saying. If you live in denial, you are only increasing your own agony. So I'm not saying that you leave because somebody said something, but if you've given it your best and you've examined it from all sides and you know this is not, you know intuitively it's not working. So yes, I had to share this with you. So you know where your resilience ends and you take a decision. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, please.
There's a professional friend of mine whom I actually caught lying. Okay. So she was lying to my another friend, like, like she said that, she designed the stuff in her entire party and also that was incorrect because my other friend just gave it to do little work on that, not the entire thing you have designed. So the other friend got a bit offended. So how do you deal with liars? Like, like because they lie
Yeah,
because they want to
true.
win something on that, or you know I don't know, like they want to feel that they have done it, or yeah. How do you
Yes.
deal with that kind of situation? Because even I, at that point of time, I wasn't able to say much to my friend, but yeah.
So if you remember, I told you from that first situation, I said that understand why a person is lying. Okay? So he could be a chronic liar. It could be because they are scared of something. It could be because they're insecure about something. It could be so many reasons. Once you understand why he or she lies, then you can probably address the issue. Okay? Did you try addressing the issue with this person that, hey, listen, this is what happened and you said this. So, how do we deal with this?
Yeah, so we spoke about it. So like this, the other friend of mine, she comes from a very good background. So probably she wanted to show that I did work for her, but that was not true. You didn't do the entire work. She just asked you to do a bit of it on it, not the. So like you can't say you did it entirely to her closest friend, because her closest friend knew, like she has not done. So it
Correct.
completely annoyed my other friend that that's like like you should not lie, because people know like you've not done it. So yeah.
So you've answered your own question because I was
Yeah.
just going to say that, see, where in a work environment, for example, now if there is this person who lies, everybody knows that, but different people deal with it differently. Now, if you are truly compassionate, you may want to help that person. But if you're not really wanting to do that, you'll understand that and you'll work around it. That is what I was trying to say. When you understand this, so the next time round, probably you will not include her in your project, or you will not give her that part of the work, or whichever way you look at it. But the critical part here is that you understand why that person lies, or that person does lie. And again, a very important thing which I've learned in life, you can change yourself. You cannot change the other person. So
Right.
if I was you, which I have done, I had just an interesting anecdote here. So I had an subordinate who would flip to me and say that, long back when I just started out, I was just started out with the team. So, how would you feel about running a team and stuff like that. So she would always say that every week or 10 days she would have this headache and she wanted half day. And then I realized that every time she had a headache, there was a male colleague who was free. Okay. So, and it didn't help that my boss was her brother in law. So I knew what was happening, but I did not want to make it a personal issue. I did not want to interfere in her personal life. That's not my business. So I told her one thing very simply. I said, you do one thing. You seem to be getting these headaches very frequently. I'll get you 1 month's leave. Go get yourself checked and then come back. Because we can't keep giving you leave every week or every 10 days. Guess what happened? The headache stopped. You understand? So if you can understand why the other person is doing it, you may be able to deal with it. Supposing you are colleagues and you're not able to deal, I mean, you may not be able to take that action. You have to work around it and say, okay, so we will not give her this work, or give her the work that will not really, come in the way of your presentation. So there are many ways of looking at it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else? Anyone else?
Anyone?
Hi, Niru. This is Sajita here. Saji.
Hi. Hi, Saji. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, it was a wonderful presentation, Niru. And in fact, many over here may not realize that some of us are seeing each other after 30 years.
Absolutely.
Uh,
I still
30
haven't seen
years.
you.
I mean,
I
probably
still
some
haven't
of you
seen you.
here. Yeah. So it was a pleasure, Neera, to listen to this, to listen to your presentation and to the thoughts that were shared after. And the question that
I'm glad.
Prashanti shared here just now about somebody not giving credit, to the work of
Right.
someone else. Now, this is a thought that I personally also have in mind when I work in the work atmosphere. There are very few people who actually give credit where it's due. So, isn't integrity a part of spirituality? Can a person who does not have high integrity, is it possible for such a person to be spiritual? So, don't those two go together? So, in your first slide, I was just wondering if integrity could also be added after happiness.
Certainly. Certainly, integrity is a very high caliber attribute, I would say. 100%. So no doubt there. And if we were to take Prashanti's question and your question, it is a big issue. And for us, it's a matter of life and death. So
Yeah.
yes, there are no two ways about it that integrity is up there, 100%. But having said that, everybody is not able to measure up to the standards we set. And it may not be a fair expectation from everybody that you have to do this. I cannot lay standards for anyone else, but I can lay standards for myself. I think
Right.
that is a critical learning that I can only set standards for myself and change myself. So it really depends how much I want that thing, whatever it is, and I am willing to change. Is my
I would like to add here something. And Nirupama, this comes from a session of IWH, which was done with, Shireen Batliwala ma'am or Soleil
yes,
ma'am. Exactly the same question which I had also posed, that we often seek a lot of, appreciation from the outside world of our good work done, and we don't get it. So of course it hurts us. I like the fact what Miss Bakliwala told us at that point, that you do things not with the expectation of gathering the credit, but you
true,
just do it purely out of your own happiness. You wanted to do it, you did it. Now don't
true,
bother about whether people give you the appreciation or not. You are happy, and I think that's again the larger purpose of spirituality, which you had earlier spoken
true.
of.
Two things come to my mind. I just watched a movie, The Wife, and it's about a Nobel Prize winner in English literature. And he says one thing: a writer writes because he has to write. He is not writing to be read, which I thought was very interesting. Exactly what Ms. Batliwala said, that you do a thing because you have to do it, not because somebody is watching or you're going to get an award at the end of the day. And the second thing, which I think, which you said about, not getting acknowledgement, not, it has a lot to do with self-worth issues, which most women have. Self-doubt, self-worth. Am I good enough? Will they listen to me? So I think most of us, and it could be conditioning, it could be the way we're brought up, it could be so many reasons. There's so many reasons. But I think these are the two things that I would focus on. That one is that you do a thing because you have to do it, or you want to do it. Have to do it in the sense you want to do it. And the second thing that you're talking about certainly comes from self-worth and self-doubt.
Right, right.
Otherwise, I'm happy if you like it, I'm happy if you don't like it. That comes from complete confidence in yourself. That I don't get impacted by extreme praise and I don't get impacted by complete, uh, negativity. So
Sure,
that kind of confidence, if you have, that is something else.
sure. We have a
Yeah.
question from Diksha who's asked, one last question: is spirituality also related to religion to some degree?
See, honestly, my take is religion is a tool. It is a man-made tool. Okay, so spirituality is universal. To illustrate with an example, anywhere in the universe, killing another person would not be justified even if it's for your own benefit. I'm taking an extreme example just to illustrate the point. Okay, so that's a universal principle. No matter which religion we belong to, which geography we come from, which language we speak. But yeah, one religion can tell you pray X number of times a day. Another religion can tell you you don't need to go anywhere to pray. A third religion can tell you X, Y, Z things. So I think that is the difference between religion and spirituality. Religion helps you to follow that path to a great extent, but I wouldn't take one for the other. No. Diksha, does that make sense? Okay.
I would, yeah, yeah. I guess
Yes.
yes. She
In
says
fact,
yes.
religion and spirituality are completely two opposite things. They cannot be together. They can, or but difficult to coexist to some
I
extent.
think spirituality has a religion,
Religion, that's a different religion in itself. You
and
could be
that religion
religious.
is humanity and nothing else.
Absolutely. This is what I wanted to add. Perfect.
Yeah.
So there, Diksha, I hope that answers your question even more.
Great,
Okay.
ma'am. There's a ma'am who had put out a question. I'm not sure. I'm seeing her name as the same as yours, Nirupama.
Okay. What was your
Yeah,
question?
she had a question. Um, yeah, I'm trying to, find her question here. How do I know who is wrong, me or them? When
You will,
Diksha's,
yeah. Yeah, so I think we did address this issue when we were talking of, I don't
okay,
know who had
okay,
brought up something, that you will know intuitively.
okay,
And
yeah,
and at the end of the day, supposing I do believe, okay, Shubhra is wrong. So that's
mm,
my belief, then I work around it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's really a perception. It's how I perceive life, it's how I look at life, and I will act accordingly.
right,
Yeah,
right, sure, yeah.
yeah.
I think any more question, any thoughts, anything else to be shared? Piyali still in minds of thinking whether to speak or not.
No, because you have actually talked about it, the expectation that which is related with happiness. Because people, they do expect a lot when they do something for someone, and then they do expect that they will get something in return. And but mostly in that case, it becomes a loss and profit. Like, you really cannot have that kind of expectation. And if something is not met, they become unhappy about themselves, and then they become unhappy about the relationship also. So I think happiness is like, it is a very vast thing, and there are like many small things are part of happiness. Like, people, they do judge their happiness with expectations, loss and profit, and what they are getting from it. And it is always about the others, like, how they are thinking about you. So I was into like, dilemma, like, to share it or not. So that's why I was like, okay, let me just
No, no,
with
good,
everyone.
good,
No,
good that you,
I think you have opened a Pandora's
good.
box.
Yeah,
It's
we need
like,
another session, Shubhra, for this.
yeah.
Oh, very, very well shared, Yali. And also reiterating what Nirupama said, that, think of all these from within and you as the person there. So don't do
I'd
that
like to
for
make
others.
one point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to make one point here. What she said, that when you do things for others and you don't get acknowledgement. I want to make one very pertinent point here. I had a friend who said that I do so much for everybody, that I traveled here to help so and so, I traveled here to help so and so, and when I was wherever she was, they didn't come to visit me. So I asked a question. I said, "Good, you helped them, but did they ask you for your help?" So she was stumped. I said, no, did these people that you're complaining about, did they ask you for help? No, but I knew they wanted it. I said, see, you reached out to them to help them, but look at it from the other person's point of view. Sometimes that can become a burden on me, that now I have to reciprocate because you did this for me. And she had never thought of it that way. I said, see, when you keep doing 10 things for me, I feel the burden. I feel the burden of reciprocation. I feel the burden of how do I return this favor. So
Right.
sometimes you must probably introspect and see and explore that, am I doing this because I want to do it? In which case you should have no expectations of a return. Then the happiness is in doing it.
Right.
I guess the Bluetooth issue got
Yeah,
some.
what happened? Did we lose her?
Yeah,
I think
Professor
so,
got cut.
because yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. But I think I'll just wait for her. I'll message. But I think it's lovely, hearing all of your thoughts and experiences. Yeah, she's back again. On that note, one last question, Nirupama, and definitely,
Yes,
it would summarize everything that we have spoken today. I would
sure.
like you to just take three, advice that you would like to give to working professionals and women who are here today. And work here could mean, the office work as well as your
Absolutely.
business or your home front.
Absolutely.
Three key
Absolutely.
advice that can bring about spirituality at work. Very simple, three pointers that you would like to leave us with.
Yeah, yeah. I will tell you what I have found very useful. So I would
Sure.
really share that with you. One is really accepting the reality that this is it. Now, what do I do about it? But you accept that only once you have explored every other aspect. Okay, so I find that very useful. And then I go about doing stuff to change the situation or change me or whatever action points I want to uh, kind of go ahead with. The second thing I found very, very, very useful, okay, is distancing. I do that all the time. I do that with my people who come to me for coaching. I do that with students who come to me for whatever courses they come to me. I suggest that to everybody, and because I have found a lot of benefit from distancing myself, and especially when you are highly emotional about a situation, and this could help you even in your personal life, not only work life but personal life. So accepting, distancing, and the ability to see a larger picture. And for this, I thank a boss of mine right in the beginning of my career. You know how we are when you start working, that I want a promotion and your increments and this and that. And he explained it so. I am ever so grateful to him. He told me that try to understand you've done very well, but you're not getting this because the company has a broader picture. So it is not that they're not appreciating you, but there are certain issues that we have to look at. And next year, when you get it, are you going to say that why did I get it? No. So that broader picture, I think, is a phenomenal tool, especially when you can't figure out why things are going wrong and everything you do is going wrong and nothing, especially in these times, for example, COVID-19 times. Nothing seems to work, nothing is working for us, the world is in shambles. That's when the bigger picture attitude helps us. So these are the three things I would really recommend. Do give
So
it a
thank you
shot
so much. I think
and
that's
share
very
with
well
us.
said.
Thank you.
Big
I
round
would
of applause.
say something.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. So
A
very
pleasure all
nice.
of you here. A big pleasure to have all of you here. I'm so happy we could do
Thank you.
this.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Shanti, you
Thank you.
wanted to say something?
Lots to think.
Yeah, so it's
Lots
like
of things.
after being through the turmoil, sometimes when you initially start at work and then you understand all of this, so you have to set a parameter of harmfulness. You have to set a parameter.
Yeah.
If that person is affecting your SQ, AQ, EQ, then you have to make it okay. This world, this person is just a part of a professional. This thing, these people are not in my personal circle. There's a difference in professional world and personal world. But if that person is affecting your SQ and AQ, and that person is from professional world, either you try the person and work it out, or as rightly you said, which I really liked about you, to distance yourself. Once you do that and attachment you start, you will feel like, oh, it just doesn't matter anymore. So which is very good.
Sure. We didn't
Okay.
even realize it's almost
Yeah.
close to
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
we have
please.
1.5 hours and we are so full of discussion. In fact, I'm so thankful. This has to have another session for sure
Oh,
at
that would be
its
lovely.
next
That would be
That's
level.
true.
lovely.
Yeah.
I would be happy to do it and have all you beautiful people participating the way you have. So I've had a very good time and a lot of learning for me. So thank you very much, all of you, for making time. Thanks, Atan.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Niru.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thanks.